Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today I want to share with you guys the books that I just finished reading for the year of 2017. Also the books that I plan on reading for the rest of December and also the beginning of January. And I also want to recommend some books for children out there, mamas, dads out there. If you're watching today's video, I have some books that I highly recommend for children. And then I also want to share with you guys something really exciting that happened to me. The best way to end my career in 2017. Not to end my career. The best way to end 2017 in regards to my career. That's a better sentence. Oh, by the way, guys, I want to start a book club here on my main channel. And I really want some great ideas in regards to names for the book club. So I was thinking Sweet Reads is just something that kind of came off the top of my head, but if you guys have some excellent ideas, kind of like to play up with Dulce Candy and my name, I would absolutely love your guys' ideas. And I will be drinking tea because I love drinking tea whenever I read a really good book. And this coffee cup is actually a gift from my sister Wendy. She gave us all her sisters, me and my other sister, she gave us coffee cups with our initials. And it's so cute because it just has that weathered look and I absolutely love it. So thank you to my little sister Wendy. We're also planning on doing a lot more videos together this year. I just have to come up with some great ideas, but we already have one idea for a book, but this year we also want to do like a sister series on YouTube, so I'm really excited about just the whole year. So Little Women is the first book that I started reading at the end of 2016, and this is the first book that I finished reading the year of 2017, and I'm really excited about this book because this is kind of like what kicked off my journey towards reading the year of 2017. And when you hear the number of books that I read, you're going to be kind of disappointed, but as someone who didn't read any books really, I've improved in so many ways because I've been reading, and that's something that I wanted to do, especially because I had a lot of insecurities with my vocabulary. It's developed quite a lot because of reading, and I don't know, I just feel like reading does so many wonderful things to your brain. And when Isaac sees that I've been reading a lot and that I love reading, he enjoys reading more. Little Women is the first book that I picked up. I fell in love with the story because I have 3 sisters, and it's kind of like a story of 4 sisters and their mom and their little adventures and romance. And it's definitely a book that you guys probably read in junior high, but it's still a wonderful read. I became obsessed with Little Women. I laughed a lot out loud, and I also cried a lot. So it's a really wonderful story, and I couldn't put this book down. So this actually has part 1 and part 2. Obviously part 1, but it's also part 2 in here. So it's a really nice vintage little treasure that I have, and this is definitely going to be, if I have a daughter in the future, this is the book that I'm going to pass down to her. So On Fire by John O'Leary is also a really great book. This was recommended by my friend Marissa. She went to a seminar, and I believe that he spoke at that seminar, and it's about the story of a man, real life story of a man who was unfortunately burned in a really bad explosion in the garage, and then he burned his hands off, I believe 99% of his body, but it has so much wisdom and a lot of life lessons that he learned. It's really great to read about those because I feel like even if I can't implement that life lesson into my life now, like I've heard it and I've like ingested that, so it's always going to be in my subconscious mind, you know? And it's so inspiring. I also laughed out loud and I cried. And if I do those type of things in a book, I know it's a great book because it makes me feel emotion. So it's so amazing. You guys got to pick this one up. Highly recommend it also. And then after that, I got You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. This book I've had for a long time. I picked it up at Urban Outfitters, but I just wasn't reading it because I have so many books that I used to buy in the past and I just never read them. But I'm like, one day when I want to read and I make time for reading, I'm going to read that book. But so I ended up downloading the audio version, and I think I started this after May, like in June. And I would just listen to this in the car on my way to Barry's boot camp, before I get my workout, on the way to my mom's house because it's like an hour-long drive. And just listening to it, I cried at some parts because the way that she talks to you is like she's giving you hard love. You know, like she's telling you everything that you need to hear if you just need to snap out of it and be like, and realize how freaking awesome you are and how capable you are of doing anything. even if you believe that, sometimes there's moments, because I go through that, sometimes I believe it within myself and then I doubt myself. So I go through that struggle all the time, and I don't know if I'm ever going to come to a point where I'm just totally feeling it. But my emotions, they fluctuate through the whole month, especially during my time of the month. So I just kind of need like that reassurance and that girl talk and inspiration. So this is a really great book. And fun fact, Jen Sincero actually wrote on the back, she wrote a quote about my book, The Sweet Life, and her quote is on the back of my book. So I just thought it was like connection. Part 2, how to embrace your inner badass, because we all have it inside of us. Just like, how do you embrace it? How do you connect with that? And some of this advice I've heard before, but I just like the way that she would say it. It's just like the person delivering the message is so important too. So I'm so happy that I actually heard the audiobook of this. There will never be anyone exactly like you. You are given this special gift and talent to share with the world. Even though everybody has special gifts and talents, nobody will use theirs quite the same way you do. You have a way of being in the world and a perspective that's unique to you. You are the only one who thinks your thoughts the way you think them. You have created your own unique reality and are living your life according to your own unique path. You are the only you there will ever be. You are kind of a big deal. Aww. I love that. She's like, you're kind of a big deal. You're a big deal. If you don't know that, you should, because you are. Thank you, Jen. You are the bomb too. So now, Dr. Wayne Dyer, this is Wishes Fulfilled. This is a book that I became pretty obsessed closer towards the end of the year, because it helped me put my thoughts into perspective, because before I used to consume, like, have thoughts because of the outside world, right? And then I would let those thoughts affect the way that I feel. And it would happen a lot. Like even just reading comments online, or if you see a picture on Instagram and then you start to question yourself or doubt yourself. I realized, because of Dr. Wayne Dyer, that thoughts are just thoughts. They can be really powerful. You can give them power, or they could be powerless. So a thought that comes into your stream of consciousness, right? You have constant thoughts that come in and out, in and out. Sometimes you have a thought, you don't even remember that thought, but then sometimes one comes in that just really resonates with you, and then you carry that with you the whole day, whether it's a good one or whether it's a bad one. So I started to realize that if I have a bad thought, and I'm not feeling good about that bad thought, I can just let it go into the universe and pick another thought that actually serves me and that actually makes me feel good inside. So that was a really big deal to me, because I'm like, I don't have to be mad if I don't want to. Why do I have to be mad? Just choose a positive thought. I know some people kind of don't like reading these types of books because they believe that the only thing that you should be reading in regards to the spirit or the soul is the Bible. But I actually think it's a really great idea to sort of read everything that you can, so you can understand it. Religion and sometimes faith can be something that can totally cause a lot of hate and war against people or communities. So I just think it's important to want to have an open mind to other religions, not to say that you want to convert to it, but sort of to understand the way that other people think, instead of saying, if you are not this religion, then you are wrong, you are going to hell, and so on and so forth, because I feel like it's so there's so much negativity in it, and I feel like it should be something positive that sort of guides you through life, if anything. So to me, I really love reading books about spirituality, lots of different things, and that's just what I personally love. So yeah, that's Dr. Wayne Dyer. Rest in peace also. And he had a very serene soul. It's just an incredible person. And that's the type of person that I would like to be when I reach an older age, if God blesses me with that blessing of living a long life. So I want to be that kind of person that still inspires and still just tries to connect people. So absolutely love Dr. Wayne Dyer. Rest in peace. And the last book that I read, just finished reading it. This is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And this is a book that I've also had in my collection for a long time. And then I would pick up and just sort of drop and never really fully finish reading it. And I finally said, I'm just going to sit down and read this book, because obviously I'm highlighting so much from this book because I love it. And It's a great story about a young boy who goes on a mission. He's a shepherd, and he goes on a mission to find his personal legend, which is his life's purpose, his soul's purpose on this earth. And in the midst of that, it's a fictional story, but in the midst of that, there's a lot of really great wisdom about life and about our world. And it really does make you look at life a lot differently. Something that resonated here with me, and I have this bookmark in here because I wanted to talk to you guys about it, was in regards to my husband Jesse and how we met and how deep in love I am with him and him with me. And he and I, him with me. And this says right here when the boy is saying something to Fatima. Fatima told him, which is a girl that he met, that he fell in love with. She's told him, one is loved because one is loved. No reason is needed for loving. But the boy continued, I had a dream and I met with a king. I sold crystal and crossed the desert. And because the tribes declared war, I went to the well seeking the alchemist. So I love you because the whole universe conspired to help me find you. When the whole universe conspires with you to be with your significant other, to find that person, it's a beautiful thing because every single thing that you go through in life happened. So you and him, so me, for example, Jesse and I could somehow end up at Fort Hood, Texas in June of 2006, where we first met each other. Like everything that I went through, everything that he went through led up to us being exactly where we needed to be at that time to be with each other. So everything that is happening now and that will ever happen in the future with other people too, like anybody that you meet, I don't believe it's a coincidence. Why are you meeting this person? What do you have to learn from this person? Whether a good thing or a bad thing. A lesson is always a great thing, you know, even if it's something great or something not so great. That's usually where all the lessons are, as a matter of fact, when things are going against our will. And there's also another part in here that made me feel really great because it says that God is pretty much testing you. Like when you really feel like you want to break down and just give up completely, that's where God begins to test you. And he wants to see if you are strong enough, if you are wise enough, if you have learned the lessons that you needed to learn to move on and to be strong and to rise up and to go through that. Because right after this challenge, right there is where the gold is. That's where you can relax and you can just feel that the weight is off your shoulders. And that just made me think about how whenever I feel those feelings of defeat, there's something beautiful right after that. There's something beautiful there. So many great places in here that really gave me deep, meaningful life lessons. So The Alchemist, really beautiful, also made me cry. And this one, I definitely couldn't put it down. And some of you, if you are a fast reader, you can get through this whole book in a day. Okay, so now let's move on to the books that I want to read for the rest of December and then also January. I have 2 books for January. I think I could do 2 books. So I just picked up The Year of Yes because the title I thought it was the perfect timing right now because the end of 2017 is right around the corner. And I thought, you know, The Year of Yes sounds like a really great way for me to start the year. So I'm about this much in. I read a lot, guys. This is like only a day and a half. So that's a really big deal for me. Like all of these pages in a day and a half. Yeah. But I don't just sit there and read all day also, guys. I read for about 15 minutes each day because that's the time that I find for myself to be able to read. But okay, so what do I like about it? So yeah, The Year of Yes is pretty much the story of Shonda Rhimes when she was in the midst of writing for Scandal, and you know, she had 3 little daughters and she was going through a lot of opportunities, and she just felt like she had to say yes to a lot of things because her sister was like, girl, you never say yes to anything. Like, what's wrong with you? You need to say yes to the things that scare you. And you guys know I'm all about that saying yes to the things that scares you mentality, right? So I thought this is going to be such a great book to read. I started reading it more last night, and let me tell you that I became like, I cannot stop. reading this book. The question about how do you do it all? I get asked, how do you do it all? And I never really knew what to say, but she answered it perfectly. She's like, and the thing that no one talks about, what no one says, is that we don't do it all. We have help. And if we don't have help, if we're doing something else, then another area of my life is failing, which is so true. I feel that way. When I work a lot, or if I do have to travel, then I feel like I neglect my family home. I feel like I'm missing out on something. And if I'm here at the house, chilling with my family, spending a lot of quality time and being super involved, then I feel like I'm lacking in my professional job, and I feel like I should be doing something instead of being with my family. I should be working. Instead of working, I feel like I need to be with my family. And it's always like this constant feeling of like, even if you balance it, because girl, I balanced it. Last year in 2017, I said, I do not want to travel outside of California, nowhere unless it's absolutely amazing. And so I ended up not traveling anywhere outside for a while, and I stayed home and I was with my family because one of the things that I didn't like was leaving my son. So it's such a struggle. And she's like, girl, honestly, nobody's doing it all. That's just the honest truth. But you know what? You just have to enjoy every day and everything that you have, because what you do as a working mom is beneficial for your family. And if you're happy, your family's going to be happy. Oh, and another thing that I really loved about the Year of Yes so far is that she also talked about how it's important to seize every opportunity that comes your way if you feel like it's fit for you, but it doesn't necessarily have to align with like the dream because you never know where you're going to end up. I think it's important to take on opportunities that even if you don't necessarily find them to be something that aligns with your dream or your vision, you never know where you end up or what you learn from that experience. So for 2018, I'm going to do that a lot more often and just be like, okay, well, I don't necessarily see how this is something that I want to be doing on television or whatever, but you never know what you can learn from being on TV or just whatever opportunity. I'm just putting it out there, because before I was like, I remember somebody offered me like to a job, like a role in a movie. I was sitting down having lunch with my friend, and they came up to me, and they're producers. They've been watching my channel for a long time, and they're like, we're making a movie. We think you'd be a really great role for it. And I remember saying to my friend and myself, and I even told you guys that why would I say yes to an opportunity like that when there's people out there who like will do anything to audition and to get a role, and I just someone just offered it to me. Like, I should say no, because that's kind of offensive to the people that are doing that. But then I'm like, girl, what if you never know where that opportunity could have led you? What if I had discovered a passion for acting or a passion for doing something? Or maybe just learned from that experience and gained more self-confidence in myself. Who knows? I think it's just important to say yes to these opportunities that you feel are going to make you step outside of your comfort zone, you know? The next book that I want to read for January is Present Over Perfect by Shauna Niequist. Something I've been trying to just establish a little bit more in my life, and just being a little bit more present in the moment and enjoying the times that whatever I'm doing. If I'm with my family, enjoy them. If I'm at work, really enjoy that too, instead of like my mind being somewhere here or somewhere over there, you know? So I'm excited to read it, and the foreword is by Brene Brown, and I absolutely love her books. So this is the next book that I want to read, The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield. New York Times bestselling book. Also, I believe a fictional story that has like that type of wisdom embedded through the story and lessons. I'm not too sure what to expect from this, because some people classified it as New Age, and whenever I hear New Age, there's something negative tied to that. So I'm like, are they just trying to say that it's more like, ooh, you know, freaking aliens flying with purple hair in this space, and just something so outside of this world? The Celestine Prophecy is a work that has come to light at a time when the world deeply needs to read its words. Story of adventure and discovery, and it also a guidebook that has the power to crystallize your perception of why you are where you are in life. Interesting. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know too much about that book, to be honest with you guys, but it just looked pretty cool, so I picked it up. So this is something that my family and I are very, very proud of. This is a textbook, a new edition, the American Government, the new edition of the American Government Stories of a Nation textbook. And the reason I am mentioning this book is because yours truly is inside this book. Like, I'm in a textbook, guys. My story is part of history in a textbook about the American government, about the United States. That is crazy, guys. I can't believe this happened to me. Like, my name is here, my story, Dulce Candy. These are two of my friends in the military. I don't know if they ever watch my videos, but his name is Romano, and this is Davis. And they're now in a textbook too. In 2013, Dulce Candy has stated that she came to America as an undocumented immigrant from Mexico with her mother and 3 sisters when she was 6 years old. In the opinion of a commentator from a highly conservative website, Breitbart.com, the decision to include her as a questionnaire was likely intended to hit Donald Trump on the issue of immigration, given his highly controversial proposal and too many inflammatory statements. Donald Trump never got Dulce Candy's question. As it turns out, the candidate, feeling that Fox News had not treated him fairly in its campaign coverage, skipped the debate and instead hosted a simultaneous event focused on raising money, blah, 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 about Donald Trump. And then there's a question posed to the class about me. You know, in the presidential campaign in 2016, candidate Donald Trump assailed American immigration policy and promised, if elected, to build a wall across the entirety of the U.S.-Mexico border, which has to be paid by Mexico. In justifying the policy proposal, Trump portrayed undocumented immigrants as dangerous to American democracy and security. In what ways does Dulce Candy's use of image challenge these accusations? If you were to present counter-stereotypes images of an issue important to you, what might that be? I'm in a textbook and there's going to be discussion about my story. That's so crazy to me. And you know what? I was telling my dad about this, about the book. He actually called me because I posted it on Facebook, and he called me and he's like, just the picture that's included in this book, for example, when they took that picture of me, I never in my life would have imagined that picture, that moment, and I remember it clearly. For some reason, I can remember that picture being taken, was going to end up in a history book. You know, I never thought that would be something that would happen to me. And again, that goes into play with like how things happen the way that they happen. And my dad told me that the way that life works is that one minute you're doing great, and literally the next minute you find yourself that you might not be doing great. You never know where you can end up, because anything that's happened to me, I would have never believed that any of those sort of situations would have happened to me, and I'm just so grateful for them. I want to finish off today's video by suggesting some really great books that I read with Izek, and these are the books that I actually read to him because he reads the Diary of a Wimpy Kid, those series, and he reads the Harry Potter books himself. But I also like to read stuff to him because it's our bonding time at the end of night. It's always something we've done since he was a little baby. Always have read to him. And you know, I actually started reading to him because people said it's important to read to your kids, because I wasn't reading a lot of books either, but just the advice from other people of telling me that I should always read to children, even when they're like tiny little goobers, because I just call them a goober. I've never called baby goobers. I think Wendy Williams does that. A goober. Oh yeah, that's what she says. But anyways, so yeah, so now he loves reading. It's not like he just wants to sit down and read either, but he actually enjoys it when he does start reading, and he does reading every night, of course, because of school. So it's just really great for him. And so I ordered these books. Yeah, it's a series of 7 books. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, we have Helen Keller, Amelia Earhart, Abraham Lincoln, and Jackie Robinson, and also Jane Goodall. So I've never heard of Jane Goodall before, and that was about it. So I learned a lot about her, and these books are actually really great for adults also who want to just learn a little bit more about these incredible people. Now, I want to start off with Rosa Parks, actually with Helen Keller, because that's the book, the first book that we read, and it just made me cry. Like, these little books at the very end make me cry because they say some really great things that the kids just really inspires anybody in general. She was born healthy, and then she turned, I believe, 6 and she got really sick. She went blind, she went deaf, and it tells her story of how it happened and how frustrated she was, but yet because of those frustrations and how difficult her life became because she got sick, she learned to read, she learned to write, she learned many different languages also. She graduated from a great college. And it's just like the way that it's told, it really just feels like it resonates with children really well. It says, in my life, they said I was different. They said I'd never be normal. But the truth is, there's no such thing as having a normal life. Every one of us is like a flower that must be watered. Every one of us is full of potential. And every one of us can overcome obstacles. Don't let anything hold you back. Our lives are what we make of them. There will always be obstacles, but there will always be ways around them. I am Helen Keller, and I won't let anything stop me. And then there's 2 other books that I think are really great for children to pick up and read. Hooray for Watney Watt, called The Mitten by Alvin Tresselt. And it's a really great story about a little boy who loses its mittens. There's tons of characters in here. Like animal characters that want to like bury themselves inside of the mitten, and they all have their own little voice. And Izek loves this book because I actually act it out. Like I legit act this out, guys, and I change my voices and I do the voice of the mouse, and he's like, Mom. And whenever I read it normal, he'll be like, Mom, do the voices. So yeah, it's such a cute little story. If you go online, I did notice that this story is similar to how the 3 Little Pigs and others, Little Red Riding Hood, how it's kind of like the same story, but they change it up and it's different, but it all ends up at the same way. It's just differently told. So there's different versions of the mitten online if you guys are interested, but I haven't read the other ones. I really love this one. So yep. And then the last one, Hooray for Watney Watt, is also a book that we've had just sitting in his bookshelf, and I'm like, you know what, we always read the same books. I'm gonna go and look for other books that we've had, see maybe if he's interested in those, because his level of interest obviously changes as he's gotten older. So a lot of these books I wasn't reading to him when he was a baby, but even if he's a baby, it's actually really great. I just never picked it up. So it's by Helen Lester. Super cute. No, I don't like rats, guys. I live with rats growing up my whole life. Under my bed, scratching my bed. I don't do rats and rodents. It's like my worst fear, as a matter of fact. It's gonna give me the skibby-jeebies. But somehow this doesn't give me that. But it's a story of a little rat, a rodent. His name is Rodney. I'm like, story time, guys. His name is Rodney, and he can't pronounce his R's. So he gets bullied at school because he can't pronounce his R's. But then one day, there's this new student at school that comes in, and her name is Camila Capybara. And you know what she is, guys? She is smarter than you, she is bigger than you, and she is meaner than any of you. So there. So it's so funny because now Camila is the one punking everybody because she's so big and bad, but she has a pink dress and a big bow, which is what? And then Watney is in the corner, all scared. Look at that. Because he became really shy and like an introvert completely because everybody punks him. So the bullies in his class would be like, what's your name, Watney? And then he'd be like, Watney what? What's another name for bunny? A wabbit. And how does a train travel? They looked at each other. A twain travels on twain tracks, Watney replied miserably. So they start playing Simon Says, their favorite game, and then the teacher picks his name from a hat, and he is the one main leader who's gonna say Simon Says blah blah blah. And he's so scared and so afraid that Camila is going to hear his voice and bully him and just pick on him because he can't pronounce his R's. And so he starts like, Rodney says, read the sign, right? But he really means Rodney says, read the sign, and he says, Rodney says, read the sign. So she starts weeding, W-E-E-D-I-N-G, the sign, and the other kids actually read it. And then so the other classmates start to realize that, I just gave you guys a whole rundown. The other kids start to realize she doesn't know that Rodney can't pronounce his R's. And then at the end, something amazing happens, but it's such a fun story to like act out. But yeah, that's a really great book for kids, guys. It's so amazing. And I think I'm gonna end today's video here because I have talked a lot about books today. From you guys, I wanna know in the comment section, any recommendations for books so we can start on a book club, because I want to start one here on my main channel. And I also want you guys to give me some, if you have any great ideas for names for this series here on my channel. And we're going to start a book club, and we're going to start reading and discussing books once a month. And we'll see what else comes up from it, because I'm so excited about reading. And I think it'd be really great to discuss books together, and we'll figure out the format as we go along, or if you guys have some really great ideas of how to do it. So first, if you have any recommendations for books to start, I'm going to make a list of everything that you guys recommend, and then we'll vote on it. And then whatever book has the most votes, then we'll all read it together, whoever is interested and wants to join the book club. And then we're going to make it fun. So yeah, let's start with step number 1, figuring out what book we're going to read. And if you have any great ideas to call the book club, let me know in the comment section. And yeah, so thank you for watching, guys. Subscribe for more videos if you haven't, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.